Nintendo just dropped a cozy game that feels like it wants to eat your face, and you're going to pretend that's normal. Pokémon Pokopia hit on March 2026 on Switch 2. The marketing was like rebuild the world, vibe out, plant carrots, while the actual game is like, hey buddy, what if your avatar is a shape-shifting identity crime? Here's the deal. You're not the hero, you're the replacement. You play a Ditto, wearing a human life like it found a costume rack. The internet immediately started screaming, which is honestly the healthiest response. If you think this is AI, you're giving Silicon Valley way too much credit for my specific brand of rambling. Critics are out here handing it 88 to 89 on Metacritic, and calling it a system seller. Players are staring at the protagonist like it's the world's cutest sleep paralysis demon. That contrast is the whole show, and it's why your timeline is on fire. Tech Radar straight up says the protagonist is a Ditto, in human form, restoring a post-apocalyptic Kanto. The game is allegedly cozy, which is the funniest use of that word, since someone called a tax audit a fun little surprise. Omega Force and Game Freak cooked, but they also left the oven door open, and now the family cat is screaming. You versus them starts right now. You want comfort, they sold you discomfort in a pastel hoodie. You wanted Animal Crossing with Pikachu, they handed you Skinwalker Crossing. New Horizons, but with consent issues. The first 10 minutes are a magic trick. You wake up, you get chores, you get cute UI, you get that soft soundtrack that says, no stress, and then your Ditto does the human face, and your brain hits the emergency brake, like it just saw a clown in the back seat. It's the eyes, man. Ditto eyes are 2 dots and a vibe. On a human head they read like, I am smiling because that is the rule, not because joy is present. Reddit already nailed the tone months ago with a line that's basically terrifying yet kind of cute. And that's the exact mental split people have while they keep playing anyway. You're unsettled, but you're also collecting wood, so you feel guilty about feeling unsettled, which is peak Nintendo mind games. And don't get it twisted, the mechanic is the whole point. You don't customize a character, you mimic the missing trainer, and the game treats that like a tender tribute, while your lizard brain reads it like a hostage note. Identity theft is only cozy if you're the thief. If you're the NPC watching a Ditto walk into town wearing your buddy's face, that's not life sim, that's witness protection simulator. Nintendo's been trying to make Ditto cute for decades, and in 2026 they accidentally reinvented body horror for the casual market. The community backlash isn't the game is bad, it's the game is wrong. You can see it in the way people talk about the protagonist, not the frame rate, not the crafting tree, not the usual gamer whining. One thread about reviews has someone saying the protagonist is deeply unsettling, and they can't get past it, and that is the rare honest review that doesn't come with a sponsored link. That's the vibe. High praise, clenched jaw. And then TikTok got involved because of course it did. Players discovered you can mimic NPCs, and the AI will just accept your new reality, like your town is run by goldfish with jobs. So now you've got clips of people turning into shopkeepers, professors, whoever, and the village just keeps talking like nothing happened, which is hilarious, until you remember that's how horror works. The intended fantasy is community, the emergent fantasy is replace everyone and become mayor, and suddenly your cozy village is a multiplayer Among Us hallucination. The funniest part is how fast the cozy mask fell off. Give gamers a mimic button, and they don't build a garden, they speedrun social collapse. Also, the game clearly knows what it's doing with the lore, and that's where the knife twists. Multiple reviews mention the setting isn't a shiny utopia, it's a post-apocalyptic Kanto you're rebuilding, which means the emptiness is not an accident, it's the point. So when you ask, where are the humans, the answer is, gone, and your Ditto is basically a memorial with legs. That's why the mimicry feels gross in a way GTA never does. In GTA you're a criminal, and the world agrees you're a criminal, so your brain files it under fictional chaos and moves on. In Pokopia, the art style is saying, safe, and the mechanic is saying, steal a face, and the dissonance hits like a car door in a windstorm. It's not the act, it's the context, and Nintendo knows context is a weapon. Here's a personal anecdote angle, because you're not a robot, and neither am I. I watched a friend play, and they laughed, then they went quiet, then they said, why is my character smiling like that? And I swear I saw the exact moment their cozy expectations died. The game's Ditto smile is fixed, so every emotional beat is delivered by a mask that never changes. That means every sad scene reads like a hostage video, and every happy scene reads like a prank, and the whole time, you're chopping trees like this is fine. Meanwhile, reviewers are praising the loop. Tech Radar compares it to Animal Crossing and Dragon Quest builders, and says it's adorable and flexible and story-driven, which is true, and also the same way a shark is streamlined. You can admire the design and still not want it in your bathtub. Now let's talk bait and switch, because that accusation is everywhere. Trailers showed wobbly Pokémon, cozy rebuilding, gentle vibes, and it worked because the audience has been starved for a chill Pokémon spin-off that isn't another half-baked open world. Then the launch week hits, and suddenly headlines are like, best rated Pokémon ever, and players are like, cool, why do I feel like I'm committing a crime? That's not ordinary discourse, that's the smell of a marketing rug pull. Was it intentional? Maybe not, but the consequences are delicious. If you want meme marketing, you couldn't design a better controversy than cute life sim where you impersonate the dead. It writes itself, and the internet did not hesitate. Speaking of the internet, let's hit the political crossover, because it's too stupid to ignore. On March 2026, the White House posted a Make America Great Again image, styled like Pokopia's logo, with game-like visuals, and it immediately triggered the please stop touching the IP alarms. Imagine being a social media intern and thinking, yeah, this will go fine, and then Nintendo lawyers start stretching like Olympic sprinters. Time reported the post mimicked the game's look, and fans were already using the font for jokes, so the White House basically jumped on a meme train and got instantly clotheslined. Nintendo Life also covered the company response angle, which is the most 2026 sentence I've ever typed. And that whole mess loops back to the core theme identity. Pokopia is a game about masks, and real-world politics is masks on masks, so of course the two collided like shopping carts in a parking lot. Now the speedrunners showed up, because gamers cannot see a moral dilemma without trying to optimize it. The perfect mimic challenge is basically, how fast can I replace every NPC in town, which sounds like a joke, until you remember someone will do it in under an hour, and act proud. The mechanic has limits, allegedly tied to memory-based transformations, so you can't just become anything forever. That's smart design, and also a horror trope, because imperfect copy is the fuel of nightmares. Then there's the creepypasta machine, and it's already revving. The Ditto eyes screenshots during dialogue are the new Lavender Town, because nothing says childhood trauma sequel like a character staring into camera with a smile that never earned itself. You can see people framing it like legend building already, like this isn't scary, it's cursed, which is how the internet turns discomfort into content. A person on Reddit even said they're a horror fan and still weren't ready for tat face, and that's a strong endorsement for accidental terror. Here's where cozy supremacy becomes a street fight. Animal Crossing villagers are weird, but they're stable weird like a neighbor who always waves the same way. Pokopia NPCs are dynamic enough to be stolen, and that means the world is responsive in a way cozy games usually avoid. The chaos adds freedom, and freedom adds stories, and stories add clips, and clips add discourse, and discourse adds money, and suddenly Nintendo is bathing in engagement like Scrooge McDuck, but with lawyers. Also, the game apparently doesn't do traditional Pokémon battles, which is either refreshing or heresy, depending on how loud you type. Tech Radar notes it leans into town building and story more than classic battling, and that alone was guaranteed to start a civil war in comment sections. So you've got three factions. The critics say at last innovation. The cozy crowd says at last peace, then sees the Ditto face and backs away slowly. The chaos goblins say at last I can become the shopkeeper and ruin the economy. And Nintendo sitting on top says nothing and counts the Switch 2 sales. Because if the reviews are right, this thing is a system seller and the outrage is free advertising with a creepy smile. Let's not forget the lore breadcrumbs. Players keep finding journals and confessions that suggest disaster, abandonment, and Pokémon trying to keep memories alive, and that reframes the Ditto from thief to grieving friend. That's the emotional hook that keeps people 100%ing it. They want the reunion and the missing human to come back and say good job, and then the Ditto can stop wearing the mask like it's a uniform. And apparently there's a post-credits tease with a rocket and a lone human in space, which turns the whole thing into heartbreak bait for completionists. You can feel the audience bargaining, maybe the trainer returns, maybe the face becomes real, maybe the smile turns into a smile, and the game just sits there like, good luck with that. Here's my blunt verdict for casual viewers who want drama. Pokopia is either Nintendo's darkest spin-off by accident, or the most polite psychological thriller they've ever shipped on purpose. Either way, you're the one holding the controller. Every time you mimic, you're choosing between game mechanic and moral itch, and the fact you can feel that itch in a cute crafting sim is wild. So, what's the punchline to end on? Nintendo promised you a peaceful rebuild, and you got a cozy apocalypse where the main character is the world's friendliest imposter. If you love it, you're not weird, you're just adaptable. If you hate it, you're also not weird, your instincts are working. And if you're the type who saw the Ditto face and immediately tried to replace the entire town, congratulations. You are the reason the villagers should unionize, and also the reason I can't look away. And yes, packaging drama landed too, because 2026 can't have peace. A chunk of players are furious that the physical version is a game key card. Basically a cartridge-shaped permission slip that still makes you download the game. Some call it collector bait, others shrug, and everyone secretly fears losing a $70 key behind the sofa. Polygon even roasted Mr. Mime, saying he's a god-awful mime in Pokopia, which is hilarious because he was already the franchise's walking jump scare. So yeah, the cozy town has identity theft, apocalypse lore, and a terrible mime. Relaxing, right? And the sound type crowd is melting down again because stereo rotom isn't sound, so Twitter's holding awake.